faces on. Now let's get straight into the guiding part of the tour. On the right hand side we have Cleopatra's Needle. Despite its name, Cleopatra's Needle is actually over 1,000 years older than Cleopatra's time. It's about 3,500 years old and was gifted to London by Muhammad Ali. Not the boxer though, but the ruler of Egypt and Sudan in the 19th century. It was gifted to us as a symbol of gratitude for our victories in the Battle of the Nile. When the needle was first gifted to us, they built a transportation mechanism to take it across the seas, and halfway along its journey it nearly sunk. So they had to turn around, rebuild it and bring it back to London, which took almost 40 years. Directly in front of us you can see Waterloo Bridge. This is commonly referred to as the Ladies' Bridge because in 1945, while the men were off fighting in World War II, the women bravely stepped in to complete the construction of the bridge. It was designed by a man called Sir Giles Gilbert Scott, who still maintains the credit for it today though. On our left hand side we have Somerset House. Throughout its life, Somerset House has been many things. It's been a tax office and a navy hall, but now in the summertime it turns into an open air theatre, dark, and in the winter time it turns into a nice space. Directly in front of us we have the statue of Isambard Peter. This guy was an influential civil engineer in the 19th century, and he was responsible for building many tunnels, bridges and roads in London. He was placed here as a reminder that London is not only a city of politics and monarchy, but also of ingenuity and development. Coming up on our left-hand side, this red and white building that you can see is the derelict entrance and exit of a disused train station. This was the Piccadilly Railway line. Although it's not used anymore for public transport, it is still widely used as a filming set for many famous movies, including The Darkest Hour, that film about Winston Churchill, and American Werewolf in London. Do we have any Australians on board this afternoon? Any Aussies? Just me then. As we come on to Melbourne Place, on our right hand side we have Australia House. For our Harry Potter fans, the inside of Australia House was actually the filming place of the Gringotts Wizarding Bank of Hogwarts in Harry Potter. I'm pretty sure this is where they shot the scene where Harry and his friends fly out of Gringotts Wizarding Bank at the entrance on his dragon. Aside from being the filming place of Harry Potter, you actually need an Australian passport to enter into Australia House. So I can go in, but the rest of you can't. Except for one weekend in September when it's actually open to the public. So you could probably go in and check out where it was once filmed. Oranges and lemons sing the bells of St. Clements. You can see along the walls as we pass it on the right hand side that there is some bomb damage that was left there as a reminder of the Blitz of World War II. The Church of St. Clement Danes was actually redesigned following the Great Fire of London in 1666. It wasn't actually damaged in the fire though, London just thought it needed a bit of a revamp. And on our left-hand side, these majestic courts are the Royal Courts of Justice. These are the highest civil courts in all the land, opened during the reign of Queen Victoria. And the courts are actually open to the public, so if you're ever curious, you can actually go in and sit in on a case. It's normally here where celebrities come to sue the media. On our right-hand side and behind us just as we pass is the Temple Bar Monument with the griffin on the top. This marks when we have just left the city of Westminster and have now entered into the 1 square mile of the City of London. Think of the City of London kind of like the Vatican City, except it runs on a slightly different religion, and that religion is money. In 2023, the 1 square mile alone produced a GDP of over £100 billion. We're now on Fleet Street, which gets its name as it was built on the ancient River Fleet, which is actually still running below the city today, but we can just no longer see it. Fleet Street was once the centre for media, news and journalism here in London, and it's where many of the news organisations have their main headquarters. Although none of the news companies remain on Fleet Street today, the news has become so synonymous with Fleet Street that many of the English still refer to the news as the Fleet Street. Coming up on our right-hand side, we have the recognisable Barber, which is the setting scene for Sweeney Todd's The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, where apparently they turn people into pies. On our left-hand side, we have the old Cheshire Cheese pub. This is one of the oldest and most haunted pubs in all of London. And it's where many literary geniuses used to come to enjoy a drink, including Mark Twain, Charles Dickens, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. On our right-hand side, just down St Bride's Avenue, you can see the recognisable spires of St Bride's Church. Does everyone get a good look at these Church of St Bride's? Can anyone recognise what the spires might look like? There's actually a very cute story associated to this church. There once was a baker by the name of William Rich, and lived just up the road on Ludgate Hill, and he was getting married to his beautiful wife at St Bride's Church. He wanted to surprise her and impress her with something that she had never seen before, and that would blow her away. So he made a cake for his wedding that was inspired by the spires of St Bride's Church. That actually inspired wedding cakes for centuries to come, and is now what we know as the Wedding Day wedding cake. So if you had a cake out of your wedding, that is your wife. We're now on Ludgate Hill, which gets its name from the supposed King Lud, who built a gate on a city wall so that people could enter and exit the city freely and safely. Although we don't know whether King Lud was a real historical figure, what we do know is that Ludgate Hill has thousands of years of Roman history, dating back to when this area used to be called Londinium, to the current financial district that we know today. Sorry, sir, please sit down. Thank you. We're now approaching St Paul's Cathedral, which is currently boasting the second largest dome in all of Europe. The first largest is in St Peter's Basilica in Rome, but St Paul's comes at a pretty close second. It was completed in 1710 when Queen Anne was still in reign and on the throne, and so her statue stands proudly at the front of St Paul's Cathedral. The cathedral actually only took 40 years to complete, which is actually surprisingly a very quick amount of time for a cathedral of this grandeur. This grassy patch on the left-hand side is where the most watched wedding in Britain's history took place. That was the wedding between Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer. Normally, royal weddings take place at Westminster Abbey, but due to St Paul's Cathedral's greater seating capacity and better proceeding route, they decided to have the wedding here instead. Also, most recently, the famous Mel B, the scary Spice of the Spice Girls, was married at this exact cathedral a few weekends ago. As we pass the cathedral, I get you guys to turn around and see if you can spot the golden pineapples on the top of the cathedral. Does everyone spot the golden pineapple? It's just to the left. You might think to yourself, why on earth are there golden pineapples on the top of a cathedral? What sort of relevance does that have? Well, during Christopher Columbus's quest, when he was out exploring the world and drawing the map, upon his return, he decided to bring back pineapples. Now, not many people in England and most of Europe had ever really seen pineapples because they just don't grow in this area. It's not the right climate for them. And when he brought them back, he gave them to the rich and the wealthy who acquired a taste for them. And they took them on as a bit of a status symbol. So back in the day, if you could afford a modern day if you could afford a pineapple, you could basically afford a modern day Louis Vuitton. The famous architect Sir Christopher Wren actually took inspiration from the pineapples and has placed it on many of his designs. So you can see golden pineapples scattered through London. They're on spires, bridges, weather vanes, tunnels. They're absolutely everywhere. My mission for you guys today is to see how many golden pineapples you can spot. Coming up on the left-hand side at the end of the road, you can see the front of Mansion House. The white building with the pillars is Mansion House slightly to the right, and on the left of that is the Bank of England. Mansion House is the official residence of the Lord Mayor of the City of London. Not to be confused with the Mayor of Greater London or the Prime Minister of Britain. The Lord Mayor of the City of London has been an ancient figurehead for about 800 years in the city. Although they don't actually sleep at Mansion House, it's normally where they host events and banquets, and it's where at the end of the year the Prime Minister will go and give a foreign policy speech. Did you know that in that 800 years of mayoral history there has only ever been 2 female Lord Mayors of the City of London, and that has only been in the last 60 years. On Cannon Street, which is one of the main centres of the financial district. Good thing we're here on a weekend though, because we will breeze through this street, but normally on a weekday it is incredibly busy and full of people commuting to and from work. Building is, you'll be able to see one of London's oldest artefacts. In a small illuminated box close to the ground on the left, you can see the London Stone. Although it's just a piece of weathered limestone, it has 2,000 years of history. No one really knows how it got there, but some claim that it's a Roman milestone, while others argue that it's a Druidic altar. But I like to believe that it's actually the stone in which King Arthur drew his sword. Legend says that so long as the stone of Brutus is safe, so long shall London flourish. The stone itself has survived many bombs, fires, wars, raids, floods, and even rebels trying to strike it to claim authority over London. So although we're not sure whether that legend is true, the stone has survived an immense amount, and so there might truth to it. Coming up to our right hand side above the curved building, you can see the top of the monument, which was placed there to commemorate the Great Fire of London of 1666. There are 311 spiral steps which you can climb to the top, and although you might be a little bit dizzy when you get up there, you will be rewarded with a certificate for your efforts and stunning panoramic views of the City of London. It stands at 202 feet tall, and when you lay it on its side, the top of it points directly to the location where the fire started, in a bakery in Pudding Lane. On the 2nd of September 1666, a baker was just going about his normal routine when he accidentally set fire to his oven. That fire raged for 4 days. It destroyed 14,000 homes, displacing about 80,000 people, and apparently also killed 6. Although historians now argue that this is actually a lot more that was just never recorded. Although the Great Fire was a major tragedy, there were 2 benefits that came from it. One being that it destroyed the Black Plague, which was ravaging London in the 17th century, and the second being that it led to much of, at the times, modern redevelopment, which was largely contributed to by Sir Christopher Wren. The green spire of the church that you can see directly in front of us is the All Hallows by the Tower Church. This is the oldest church in the City of London, dating back to 675 AD. It is at the top of this church that influential 17th century diarist Samuel Pepys climbed to the top of and wrote in his diary that he watched the fire of London burn as far as the eye could see. In his diary, Samuel Pepys also wrote that his 2 most prized possessions were his wheel of Parmesan cheese and his bottle of wine. In the 17th century, Parmesan cheese was incredibly expensive, and when he saw the fire roaring through London, he wasn't sure it would be covered by his insurance. So as a precautionary measure, he took his wheel of cheese and his best bottle of red wine and he buried it in his backyard. Apparently it is still there to this day. And I know cheese and wine both are things that get better with age, but after that many years, I wouldn't take any chances. Do you have an American on board this afternoon? Well, anyway, there is also some American history attached to the All Hallows by the Tower Church. It is here that the 6th President of the United States of America, John Quincy Adams, was married to his beautiful wife. We're now approaching one of Britain's greatest fortresses, the Tower of London, which is currently adorning some red poppies along the side to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the E-Day. The Tower of London was founded by William the Conqueror in 1066, shortly following the Battle of Hastings. Throughout its life, the tower has been many things and has played many roles. It's been a mint, a zoo, an armory, a prison, a place of royal residence, but most importantly, a place of execution. It's here that Anne Boleyn and Lady Jane Grey, the Queen of 9 Days, was executed, and it's also here that Guy Fawkes of the Gunpowder Plot of 1605 was held before he was hung, drawn and quartered at Westminster Hall. Those 3, among another 12 ghosts, supposedly haunt the Tower of London. One of them, most interestingly, is actually a polar bear. During the reign of King Henry III, the King of Norway decided to gift King Henry a polar bear. And Henry felt bad for leaving the bear in the zoo, so he let the polar bear roam free and hunt for fish in the River Thames. Until unfortunately one winter it was so cold that the river froze over. And apparently they fed the bear nuts and bolts and a barrel of beer. And that it didn't go down very well. The Tower of London protects the crown jewels, which include 23,000 gemstones, the sovereign scepter, and the imperial state crown. Yes, that's the funky purple crown that they put on the king and queen. There are two main protectors of the Tower of London that make sure that the crown jewels never get stolen again, and those are the beef eaters, the yeoman warders, which are commonly referred to as the beef eaters. Not sure anyone really knows how they get that nickname, but it sounds menacing enough to scare anyone away. You actually need about 22 years of army experience to serve as a beef eater in the Tower of London, and there are about 34 of them that live and work there with their families. The other more uncommon protector of the tower are the ravens that permanently live there. Legend says that if the ravens were to ever leave, the Tower of London would crumble, and that would be a major tragedy. So as a precautionary measure, London decided to clip the wings of the ravens so that they may never leave. We're now about to cross what many people confuse as London Bridge, but this is actually a much more spectacular Tower Bridge, which was completed during the reign of Queen Victoria and is a marvel of Victorian engineering. As you look to the right, you can see the much more boring gravestone bridge that is London Bridge, and don't get the South Bank side of the river, we have the HMS Belfast. This is a naval ship that served in both World War II and the Korean War, but now stands there as a permanent Navy museum. If you want a good opportunity for a photo, if you look behind you right now, you'll be able to see the amazing stark difference between the modern city of London and the ancient Tower of London. I'll go and see you guys can get a photo. If you look directly above, you can see the glass window there of the Tower Bridge. I suppose that you can climb the Tower Bridge way, and although you will be really tired after climbing so many steps, you are rewarded with stunning panoramic views of London overlooking the Thames. My favourite time to go over the bridge is in the afternoon when the sun is setting and the city just lights up in golden gorgeous colour. I'm so glad we've made it over Tower Bridge safely, without any problems. There once was a bus driver that wasn't quite so lucky though. In 1952, a bus driver was just going about his normal day transporting passengers over Tower Bridge when he noticed he was on the bridge while it was opening. So he saw this massive gap in the centre directly in front of him. He had one of two choices. He could have reversed his vehicle, which could have potentially harmed himself, his passengers, and the people in the traffic behind him. Or he could have put his foot down, accelerated, and attempted to jump the gap. Any guesses which option he took? B. That's exactly right. That's what he did. He put his foot down, accelerated, revved the engine, closed his eyes, and moved on, and successfully made it to the other side. Thankfully, everyone made it over safely, and no one was injured in the process. For his amazing and heroic efforts, the bus driver was rewarded with a £10 bonus and an extra day off. Crossed over Tower Bridge, we are in South London. Turning right onto Tooley Street, which has thousands of years of Viking history. There once was a church on this street that was actually mentioned in the Domesday Book of 1086. On our right hand side you'll see some statues of a few important people. The one in the full mayor on the road is that of Samuel Bevington, who was the first mayor of Bermondsey, which is the area we're in now. And the one behind him was that of Ernest Bevin, who was widely renowned as one of the driving forces for the creation of NATO. The Two Bridges pub on the left-hand side is a Navy sailors pub where many sailors used to come and enjoy a drink, because Tooley Street used to be well known for being a street for shipbuilding. If you look above the buildings on the left-hand side, you can see the top of the Shard. The Shard is one of the more modern buildings in the City of London, and after many delays was finally completed in 2012. It stands at 1,016 feet tall, or 340 metres, and there are viewing platforms on levels 68 and 72. And you need to pay a small fee to go to the top. You are rewarded with stunning panoramic views of London, and on a clear day you can see up to 40 miles away. There are also some lovely restaurants and cocktail bars which you can enjoy a drink and a meal. Another sailor's pub, the Shipwright Arms, and if you look behind us as we pass it above the door frame, you can see the figurehead of an old Navy ship supporting the window. On our right hand side we have Hayes Galleria. This used to be known as Hayes Wharf because it was the main centre for the importing and exporting of ship parts, and it's where most ships were built until the 1900s. Now there are some cool coffee shops and modern art galleries which you can enjoy. On our left-hand side we have London Bridge Station. This is one of the largest and busiest stations in all of London. It brings in about 180,000 people every single day, and is one of the main train stations where you can catch interconnecting trains into different cities and even different countries. As an Australian, it absolutely baffles me that you can catch a train into a different country. The London Bridge bridge. But don't worry, it won't be falling down anytime soon, unlike the nursery rhyme suggests. Although it has been rebuilt 5 different times, so there is actually some truth to that nursery rhyme. There once was an Arizona entrepreneur that came to London saying, I want to buy London Bridge because it will sell me more real estate in Arizona. Many people think he was actually trying to buy Tower Bridge, which is much more exciting and probably would have sold him more real estate. And instead, he was left with a boring stone bridge. And now there is an exact replica of this one in a museum in Arizona. On this side of the bridge, the southern side is also where they used to hold the heads of traitors, which they would preserve with tar and display on sticks to reward those entering and leaving London what would happen to them if they were to become traitors of the city. Some of the famous heads that will include that of William Wallace, Thomas Cromwell and Thomas More. On our right hand side we have the borough markets. These are the oldest markets in all of London, dating back to about the 12th century. Inside the borough markets was the filming place of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, as well as its complete polar opposite, Bridget Jones's Diary. It's here that you can get the overpriced strawberries and chocolate which they buy on On our left-hand side of a rather unassuming plot of land, they've recently discovered it to be an ancient Roman burial ground, one of the largest that has been found in London. Among them, they have also discovered some of the largest and most well-preserved mosaics that London hasn't ever seen. If there begs the question as to whether the Romans knew that thousands of years later they would be in the centre of a busy tourist district. Good thing we are on an open top bus. I keep asking you guys to turn around to get stunning views from all angles. If you look behind you, you can get another view of the Shard from a better angle, and I will also duck so you guys can get a photo. While I'm here, I might as well tell you guys a little bit about this bus that you're on. You're on a very unique 1963 replica of a 1912 bus, which is known as a B-type bus. In 1912, they were producing 20 of these a day. In 1915, these buses were being used to transport soldiers to the Western Front during World War I, and by 1919, these buses had replaced all of the horse buses in London. So these were actually one of the first motorised buses in the whole city. There are only 2 main differences between this exact one and the one from 1912. That being that the one from 1912 had a maximum speed of 30 miles an hour, which was actually 4 miles above the legal speed limit of 26 miles. And the other major difference is that the one in 1912 ran on wooden wheels. That would not be very practical for today's roads. So we obviously adjusted to make sure that we were on these roads. Stop! We will soon be approaching the Tate Modern Museum, and right next to it is the Shakespeare's Road. The Tate Modern Museum was constructed with the original intention of it being a power station, and it was designed by Sir Charles Robert Scott. It ran as a power station until the 80s when they found that it was too expensive to continue running, and that's when Tate Modern invited it as their main site for a museum. It is now the largest modern art museum in all of London, and it's actually free to enter. So if you're interested in modern art and you're in the area, it's worth popping in. It will be just to our right hand side when we pass this set of lights, so you'll get a good glance at it. The current King Charles III actually declared the Tate Modern Museum the ugliest building in all of London. As we pass, I'll get you guys to look at it and make your own judgment, see if you agree or disagree. Colin, how would you agree? was hurt in the process. They did rebuild it, but then it was shut down again due to government policies, and the one that is currently standing here today was constructed in 1997. After many delays, it became the only building in all of London to have a thatched roof. And as this was following the Great Fire of London in 1666, thatched roofs became illegal because they were a major fire hazard. At least the Shakespeare's were written to make a bit more of a by having a thatched roof. Apart from having a thatched roof, it also has an open ceiling. And so when you buy a ticket, you are encouraged to dress appropriately for the weather, because they say no matter rain, snow or shine, just like this bus, the show must go on. Apparently when you book yourself a ticket to go to the Shakespeare's Road, you're also highly encouraged to heckle the members on the stage. But it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, because apparently they just heckle you back. Can everyone see that funny shaped glass building in front of us to the right? That one right there? That is number 1 Blackfriars. It was completed in 2018. I know, what a boring name, it could be a bit more exciting than that. It was completed in 2018 and is used for both commercial and residential purposes. Although the official name is really boring, many of the locals find the shape really funny and interesting, and so they've given it quite a few nicknames. Can anyone think of a nickname to give that building right there? Some of my favourite nicknames include the Boomerang, the Big Banana, and my all-time favourite, the Kim Kardashian. If we come onto Stamford Street, we have the Mad Hatter Hotel. Despite its general theme to the fictional Alice in Wonderland character, the Mad Hatter Hotel actually has a lot of ties to Stamford Street, which at one point was well known for being a street for hat making, because there used to be 7 different hat makers on this street alone. And although none of them are made today, the Mad Hatter Hotel and Hatfields Road, as well as Hatfield House, are some of the things to commemorate them. Essentially, it is where our genetics is held, and every living thing on Earth has genetics and has it in DNA. It's because of Rosalind Franklin's discovery that we've been able to revolutionize modern medicine as we know it today, because we is the basis of all life on Earth. Directly in front of us, very awkwardly positioned in the centre of the roundabout, we have the BFI IMAX. This is the British film industry's IMAX. It has the largest cinema screen in all of the UK, standing at 20 metres tall and 26 metres wide. This bus is only about 4 metres tall, so imagine 5 of these buses stacked on top of each other. That's how tall that cinema screen is. If you want a panoramic immersive view on a cinema screen, I definitely recommend going to the BFI IMAX. Unless of course you can fit a screen that big in your own living room. But I certainly can't. Directly in front of us above the KFC sign, we have the Victory Arch of Waterloo Station. The arch, alongside with the statues that surround it, were placed there to commemorate the staff members of the Great Western Railway and those who lost their lives in World War I. Inside there is plaques of the names of all of the staff members so that we may remember them. Inside Waterloo Station there is also a very recognisable clock. Back in the day, if you met someone that you fancied in London, you wouldn't give them your phone number, you would say to them, meet me at the Waterloo clock. And many people actually did. There were dates there, proposals, and even a wedding underneath the clock. Apparently, if your parents ever met at the Waterloo clock, they're actually referred to as a Waterloo baby. In all of London, so that women could give birth freely and without discrimination. That definitely broke down some of the barriers that women had to giving birth here in London. And unfortunately it did close down, so now it's just a Premier Inn, which is a popular branch of hotel. But I like many things in London, I'm sure it's also haunted. She was able to revolutionize modern nursing as we know it today. This hospital also had 3 very special visitors. On the 23rd of July 2013, the hospital was on the left-hand side. Visited to celebrate with the 22 others that gave birth on the same day that their beautiful boy, Prince George, was born. On the right-hand side, proudly protecting the entrance to Westminster Bridge is the South Bank line. You might notice that he is made of a slightly different material to the Albert statue that you see in London, and that's because he was made of Corona stone, which is a very rare material. Bridge and entered back into the city of Westminster. Directly in front of us you can see what many of you confuse as Big Ben. But let me tell you now, you actually can't see Big Ben. What you're looking at is the Elizabeth Tower, which was renamed that in 2013 following the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. But before that it was simply known as the Clock Tower. Well, you can't see Big Ben, you can definitely hear it every 15 minutes. As it is the bell that chimes within the tower. When it chimes, it's known as the Westminster Quarters. When the bell was first installed, it actually cracked. And so they replaced it, and upon testing a second time, it also cracked. So rather than replacing it a third time, they just decided to rotate the bell and install a lighter hammer. So now when it goes off, it has a much lower baritone bell, as opposed to the slightly higher pitched bell that it would have if it didn't have a crack in the bell. I think I do a better impression of the bell than the bell itself, since you won't be able to hear it for another 5 minutes. the Houses of Parliament. Inside the Houses of Parliament is the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The buildings themselves are absolutely massive. There's a cafe, a pub, a restaurant, a barber shop, and there's even a shooting range in the Houses of Parliament. Apparently, if you get yourself a job there, you're actually required to be accompanied by a tour guide for the first week of your job because you are guaranteed to get lost. Personally, I think I definitely need more than a week. There is 1,100 rooms inside the building, 300 staircases, and about 3 miles of corridors. These are also the buildings that Guy Fawkes tried to blow up in the gunpowder plot of 1605. And that's why we remember the 5th of November. It's a very common tradition here in England that on the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day, they blow up some sort of stuffed toy and set it on fire and then roast marshmallows on the campfire. Be able to hear Big Ben going off in about a minute or two. So I didn't need to do an impression of it anyway. is a major traffic jam around Parliament Square, so to avoid being here until dinner time tonight, we are just going to duck right back to the embankment. Unless you guys want air for dinner, but I personally do want you for that. On the right hand side, next to the London Eye, you can see the County Forum, which is one of the largest entertainment venues in London, and it is currently showing Shrek's Adventure. As we pass these set of lights, if you look at the very end of the road on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see the front of the Horse Guards Parade, which is the main protectors to the entrance of Buckingham Palace. Normally there are guards sitting on their horses at the entrances to make sure that the entrance is securely protected. And you can watch the changing of the guards there or at Buckingham Palace every day. Buckingham Palace, since it's on the topic of conversation anyway. Did you know that Buckingham Palace is the second largest occupied mansion in all of Europe? The first most occupied mansion is in Madrid, is from the royal family in Madrid in Spain. But Buckingham Palace has 770 bedrooms. There is about 82 bathrooms and so many miles of gardenscapes that you would get lost, more than you would in the Houses of Parliament. But the King doesn't actually live at Buckingham Palace. He lives somewhere else. I can't remember. I think you were right. I think it's Windsor Castle. Isn't it? Yeah. That's so interesting. Don't blame me. I wasn't. Just up the North Cumberland now, when you go on the left-hand side, there's also a themed pub that is the Sherlock Holmes pub, which is the first themed pub in all of London, based on the fictional character literary genius Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. It's just 5 minutes up the road where you can enjoy a really nice cold cherry cider and some iconic fish and chips, which you must try while you're in London. Sadly, this is the end of the tour, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the last hour and a bit on this tour with us on a very iconic bus through London, which is actually the only one running in all of London. It has been an absolute pleasure having you guys on board. If you liked the trip, we do accept tips in the form of cash, but we also happily accept them in the form of reviews, which we know go a long way in today's modern world. If you'd like to mention our name in that review, that would also be greatly appreciated. My name is Pia and your driver is Carl. This is definitely not an easy bus to drive, especially through all that traffic. So please give him a shout out. But if you didn't enjoy the tour, then I'm Penelope and your driver is Bob. Thank you very much.